Hey everyone, it's Trena from John's Furniture Repair, and I'm in the shop today with this really beautiful English washstand, hundreds of years old and in the shop for a restoration. Let me show you some details and let's get to work. Okay, so right off the bat you notice some really beautiful tiling work. Really nice colors that go against this wood. Looks really, really pretty. I love that. And we've got some carvings with some chatter patch in the back. I always love those patterns. And this one's in beautiful shape. Only a few little issues up here with the wood and a bit of the attachment of the back panel onto the marble. So we'll deal with those. We did a East Lakes inspired piece a while ago. This one reminds me of that. And that one was a little bit different, but this one is also very cool for a few reasons. One of them is this beautiful, tiny little inlay on a burled walnut door. Gorgeous. We have a few pieces lifting. Thank goodness they are still there. Don't go anywhere. Don't breathe too hard. Hinge issues. This one lost its pin a while ago. This one's hanging on for dear life. This door decided to give up and say, I can't do this anymore. So it just fell apart there. I don't know if we can find pins or if we have to get new hinges. We'll see. And other than that, we've got some big chunks of wood that are missing. And this foot, I think somebody found rather delicious. So issues there. Okay, so see this big screw right here? That's how the backboard here with the tiles is all held on. So the other side's missing, obviously. So I'm just gonna carefully kind of hang on to the back and unscrew this side. I can't really imagine them using a big, shiny machine screw for this. So a little confused here. Also, this is not really the best screwdriver. Okay, so it's just threaded into wood. That's weird. It looks like that's missing. That was missing. And then one of two is missing here. I think maybe a flathead screw or yeah, just a regular screw would have worked better for attaching into the wood there. So I might change out that hardware, but we got this thing safely off. Can't believe it was trucked over here with just that one screw in there. That's scary. You know, you had a lot of stuff you could have broken here. So it's actually a miracle. This is all still here. But anyways, gonna check some attachment points because this is where you're attaching this whole backer board to. We should probably make sure these are super tight, because they're both a little wobbly, and then of course add some extra hardware in when it goes back. So let me get this off and the marble off, and then we'll be able to see the inside of this cabinet. Okay, so I've got the marble sitting over on the cart there, and I'm just looking at this cabinet, and we've got a lot of additional hardware added here. If you look back here, we've got, you know, some interesting glue jobs, screws, and I'm pretty sure all of this wood is new, including the sides, which seem to have been replaced and then veneered. This is too far past everything that's happened to it. It's kind of too far to bring back to the original of any way. Unfortunately, what's been done is pieces have been removed and thrown out, and the case kind of smushed together. And I wonder if the doors even do fit. So I think looking at some of the pieces, like this is original in the front, so maybe the frame in the front is the same as what as it used to be, but I believe the sides have been replaced. I don't see Yeah, see, like the old joinery is there. It's been cut off. And then this piece has been added on. And I don't know why there's nails on the top. Maybe it was too low. Looks like something like that. And then obviously this piece broken out and re-glued back in with a modern retrofit. So because I can't bring the original back, I'm going to leave what's happened here. Just kind of one of those things you can't do much about. The only thing I can do is kind of, you know, maybe make those cracks disappear a little bit with some fills, but I'm not going to get into reveneering sides and replacing things with proper pieces and joinery, and that's just not what this piece is in here for. So basically just wanted to get those doors functioning and take care of a bit of the cosmetics, and make sure everything's working. So that's kind of what we're going to shift our attention to. Sometimes a piece is just beyond what is reasonable to come back, and sometimes it is that, but somebody wants me to do it anyways, and I'm fine with that, but my customer does not on this one. This is just how it's going to be put together. And to say that, it's still functional. The case is here, it's sturdy, and a lot of the beautiful parts of this cabinet don't really exist here in the box. It's a nice piece of marble. The inlaid doors are still existing. All of the tile work is existing. So we're going to concentrate on making those parts really beautiful, making sure this is functional, and bringing this piece back to a little bit more of a livable state. So I'm going to leave that all alone. Sorry if that's kind of disappointing. It's disappointing to me when I see, you know, what people do to keep things together sometimes. A big piece of plywood added in the side here like this really isn't great. And who knows how they have it attached in there, seeing as there's quite a bit of little things that I'm noticing around, a lot of breaks. Yeah, so something happened here and I'm unfortunately not able to reverse it. So that's okay. I mean, I'm sad about it, but let's move on. So the case itself, we're going to deal with these big chip outs here and tighten up some of the hardware here. There was that door stop that I'll put back on. The little doggy chew down here, and then I will fill the grooves on the side of the cabinet just to get it looking a little better. These guys here. Looks like at least it is walnut veneer. But yeah, so let's start there and get the case kind of put together so we can start dealing with the door fit and hinges and such. Okay, so while that's drying, we'll do a little bit of work on these. These two seem to be fine. Definitely lifted on this one. So I'm just gonna get a putty knife underneath here and we'll get a bit of glue in. Not sure what type of glue they used to put this on here. Kinda looks like contact cement. Yep, that's contact cement. That's lovely. Can you see in there? Let me get you in there. So there's a definite layer of contact cement you can see underneath here. And that layer of plywood underneath maybe they took this veneer off of the old one because it does look original in terms of the type of walnut they used, but that is definitely all contact cement in there. Problem there is that getting glue in to glue this down, I'm just gluing contact cement together. So not a whole lot to be done here other than peeling that all off. Yeah, it's a pretty annoying type of glue because you really can't soften it up and get it to stick again. I've had a little bit of success with using heat and just trying to get this seam back down. I've added glue on top of it just to kind of add a little bit of stickiness so that at least the veneer is glued to the contact cement again. But I mean, other than taking off this whole side and doing a proper job, there's not much we can do there. So I'll try a little bit of heat first with some extra glue added in to try to get this back down. If this was the original piece, it would all be hide glue and it would be a very easy repair. Not sure why this was the choice that they made, but it's all pretty lifted here. So let's try to get the iron on here and see if we can get a little bit of contact again. Okay, so that offered some mild success. Emphasis on mild. Got this top half pretty firm, seams all firm. Got a little piece back in here in the bottom. Seems like the bottom is a little loose, but it just wasn't responding to heat or glue, so we're gonna call that a win-ish. So I'm not gonna fill this with a inflexible putty like Titebond or anything like that. We're just going to go in with a very flexible wax and melt that into these seams. And that'll just have a little more flexibility for the movement of everything that's done improperly here. So I'm just going to take a hot knife. So let's float some of this wax in. I'm just going to kind of run my knife along while the body melts down. I was debating whether to do a video on this washstand just because of some of the disappointing things that we found out about it, but I still think it retains a lot of beauty with the pieces that are original with the inlays and the tiles on the top. So it's still very worth the effort of the restoration. Not that we can make it anything close to what it was, but still worth the effort of getting those doors secured, and it could still be enjoyed in someone's home for what it is. Okay, so I've got that all smoothed out. I was just sanding down a few of the little ridges on the seams. It's not perfectly flat, that's okay. Everything was stuck down and looking half decent. So I'm gonna come in with some shellac That's going to just, I think that's what's on here. I don't think there's any finishing done, so it'll be the original finish. And we're just gonna do a couple coats of the shellac just to seal everything up, and then come back and do a beeswax polish afterwards. So I like to use these foam brushes for the shellac because I'm not fussing around with cleaning things. Although shellac is really easy to clean up, really easy to work with. Takes a little bit of practice to get a nice shellac finish, but I usually like to beeswax my shellac finishes. So I kind of do a couple coats so everything's sealed up. Give it a light sand again with a 320, and then do a beeswax polish. So that'll be the final kind of look. I'm not going to try to hide a lot of stuff that's going on here. We're just going to seal it up and give it a nice soft sheen. These legs can use a little bit of a sand before I do that, but we'll give this 2 coats before moving on from that point. It's going to dry pretty quick here. We got an issue here. It's no fun going through things. Okay. It's not supposed to do that. We've got a split right here. I bet you if I just lean on it. Yeah, so, okay, I broke that new part right there. The rest of that's been broken for a long time. This little piece is held on. Perfect, okay. Looks like we had another split there at some point. Gonna have to drill in this leg and that leg and whoosh, put that back together. Yikes. Just right at that turning, it was completely split. And you can see kind of the oxidation of the wood is how you can tell what's old and what's new. So that's all my new breaking there. This has got a lot of oxidation and a little bit of debris in the grains here. So that's super fun. You know, this thing has been through it. These are kind of cool casters though. Glass or something. They look like glass. Cool. They're nice. I should take those off and give them a good clean as well. Anyways, let's go drill in for a dowel so we can get this leg back underneath this cabinet. Okay, so we've got that side looking good. Just did some simple measurements. Made sure that leg wasn't too wonky. front to back, side to side. Just giving it a eyeball test. We're looking good. The other side isn't square. You know, all the jazz that's happened to this thing. It's as good as it's gonna get. So I'm gonna go, you know, work my way across to the other side. So I got some putty fill here. I'm just gonna straighten that out. Give this area a little bit of a sand and shellac the front. By that time, this side should be dry. I did another coat on this side here, and I should be able to turn it on the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that case alone for a bit, just let that leg kind of set for the day before I turn it on the other side. And turn our attention to this door here, or the doors, I guess. I'm not gonna take this door apart, the other one fell apart, so no choices there. So the panel has shrunk over the years and caused the really cute little inlays to kind of buckle in a couple places. You can see right here, it's kind of lifting and being kind of pushed up because this piece is getting squished into the next one. So we have to take some length off and then kind of coax this back down nice and flat. I'm not going to add much adhesive, a little bit of hide glue under here, and then some warm water, and we're just going to clamp it down back in place. So there should be still some adhesive in there. It may have dried out and kind of popped out. So we'll put a little bit of hide glue beneath there before we put a little clamp around this piece and just squish it back down. But yeah, definitely we need to take off some length on this side right here so that we have room to push it down, or else it's just going to be a bit of a mess. Let me get you down a little closer. Okay, so gonna be pretty tricky. First of all, I'm just going to put some tape over the little crosshatch here to keep it together, or encourage it to stay together, so that while I'm cutting that little end of the piece off, we're not losing little chunks, because this will fly on the floor and I'll never see it again. So just gonna stabilize that piece down. Kind of bond it to all little squares here. And then I'm going to take a really sharp craft knife, and I'm just going to try to slowly trim off a very small amount. Okay, I'm going to try to slip this piece underneath. Gentle. There we go. Oh, I think it's breaking there. Okay, I broke it in 6 places, but we got that end off. Okay, so I can see underneath this piece here, there's some hide glue still, but I'm gonna add a little bit of warm water just underneath here. And that's gonna be probably enough adhesive to get this to stick down again, but I will add just a tad of hide glue under there too. So let me go get that. Okay, so just a wee bit of hot glue. And that's been soaking for a little bit, so we got the old hot glue re-amalgamating. And now I just need to position that little piece that popped off. And then everybody can go back where they belong. Oh no, I messed it up. You go right there. And then you go in there. Like this. Yep. Everybody just play nice. Okay. Okay, so I've got that last one down, and this one I took out of the clamps. Looking really great. There's a couple pieces missing. Not here, but maybe there wasn't. Oh yeah, just a little piece right there. So I'm just gonna do a color wax fill that corresponds with the color of the inlay that's missing. So a couple of just a little light piece of this edge trim was missing right there. So I'm just gonna scratch that in. You don't have to do this, but I feel like if it's left open, it kind of leaves it susceptible to getting moisture in there or drying out further. That'll just kind of protect it there. A little bit more and fill up those gaps. So a couple other areas. I got a different color wax here. Some of this burl has popped out over the years. Not going to do everything, just a few of the really big ones that are kind of sticking out. Because this piece, it's got some character and I like it. It's really nice. Nothing wrong with that. And that's that. So I'm going to seal this with a shellac, just like the other things that we did. And that'll just keep everything nice and moisturized, help these pieces to kind of stay down a little bit more over the years. You can see here the panel has shifted and that's probably shifted as much as this kind of smushed together here. So there's not much. Well, actually it moves pretty freely, which is great. That's why the panel hasn't shrunk too much. So maybe we'll just position that in the middle as best we can. But yeah, it's definitely shrunk a little ways there. So let's grab a 320 sandpaper, sand this a little, and then give it a coat of shellac. Okay, so the case is pretty much done. One more coat on that side for shellac, and I'm gonna get this door together now. In the meantime, while we're waiting for that, so let's check out how this repair went. Yeah, it looks really good. That was a tough one, because it kind of broke into individual little tiny pieces. So I'll get this so I can point without my big meaty finger. All of these little pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4 broke. These pieces came off, and I had to kind of individually place them all back there. I hope I got them all right. Hard to say. Looks like this one could be a little darker in the middle, but it looks good. We're gonna leave it there. So I'm just gonna clean off some excess hide glue here. Just gonna spray a little bit of water over the panel. And use a gray Scotch pad to kind of... Looks like we've got the original color of the piece up there. Kind of saw some stripping marks on the sides of the back piece. So I think this was not the original finish, but I think it is an old refinish job, so done a long time ago with a shellac. Make sure that glue's off of there. Super. Okay, so I'm just gonna get this together. Just gonna clean that groove out a little bit with some hide glue, because there's already hide glue all over these joints. So adding new hide glue will for when I don't have to clean out the old stuff that you can see in there. And for two, it'll soften the old stuff and kind of re-amalgamate it into the new glue joint. Okay, so these back slats here are all here, thank goodness. And my customer dropped off one that was missing that she had sitting around, so it's right here. So we're just gonna kind of see which is top and bottom. Kind of looks like this is a nicer finished surface. This would be the bottom, but which is the top and the bottom of the panel? Usually you can tell, oh, it says top right there. Somebody was just so nice to write top. Well, thank you. So this is the top of our panel. So this one's gonna go like this. See if that slips in there nicely. Not nice. Somebody just made my life so much easier. See? Be nice to your future restorers. Do them a favor. This is the bottom. Came to me in pieces, so it's always good to do a dry fit first. See to make sure if everything's fitting or if you need to adjust something. Yeah, more or less that looks good. So let's get it apart and put it together with some glue. As I was saying, a couple things on this beautiful tiled piece. These were loose. They're just screws, so I tightened those. That tightened these. But this joint on this side here, if you can see the side-to-side joint on this whole side is quite loose there. So we'll have to get that off and re-glue it. As well, I noticed a piece missing on the return trim right here. So you can kind of see this piece here is gone and there's a shadow of where it used to be. It is on the other side, so I know it's supposed to be there. But yeah, that we'll have to make a new piece for. So other than that, this piece is in good shape. I did add some epoxy putty in some corners that were missing because I had a little bit of extra. So we'll shape those. The other side of this doesn't seem to be as loose in the joints, just this side. So we'll just glue that one side, kind of do the bare minimum here and make sure we're careful with all those beautiful tiles. So yeah, everything else is turning out pretty good. This door is looking great. Kind of like that sheen on this burl, but I will take it down with the beeswax polish. So one more coat on that and then we'll see where that door's at. Okay, so got that door glued up, got the last coat on the case, and now I'm going to start thinking about these hinges. So these beautiful brass hinges, I really like. They're really thick. They're kind of double folded there. And we have all the hinges. Unfortunately, one is broken. That little tab there that's supposed to go around the barrel is broken. So I could get new ones. They would be slightly different sizes. But I have 3 out of the 4 that I can use. And I think I'm just going to, this is a nice brass hinge as well, nice thickness. I'm going to use this guy here. It's a little thinner than these ones. So I might have to shim this in the cabinet, but what needs to happen here is the same width or length, I guess, but the width is a little bit too much. You can see this has about, you know, an 1/8 of an inch difference. So I'm going to actually shave that off. I know there's holes here, but I'm going to be drilling one hole that's really close in, like this one has, and I'm not going to take off all of this. It's just going to be very close up.
18 months, we'll look to see if there's a continued partnership there.
CBC spokesperson Chuck Thompson says there's a year to go with the corporation's existing deal, and the focus now is on the exciting playoff run ahead. It'll Moose, the CBC News, Toronto.
And that's your world this hour for CBC.
Okay, so I wanted to show you the back here before I flip it over. We've got that little piece made and just have a little bit of putty on the seams there. Looking good. And this is the original color here. That's what I was kind of meaning by. I saw some stripper lines and stuff. You can kind of see where a little bit of the stripper has dripped along the side. It was a darker color before. So I'm not even going to touch this. I'm going to leave it alone as testament to what it was. We've got the back panel back on. These joints across are re-glued. So we've got that all tight here now. And this whole piece is secure. So once we have that little trim piece all prettied up, this can get, I'm not sure if I'm going to shellac this piece. It seems to have a lot more finish on than the rest of the item, so I might just beeswax this piece instead of also shellacking it because I don't think it needs it, and it'll be a little bit of a mess just working around everything. So I might just leave well enough alone because it is well enough. So these are tight, joints are tight, trim replaced, just a bit of prep work on some putty that I added here in some places. And then this piece can be beeswaxed. So good stuff. That'll be nice and secure. We do have to figure out some other way or other hardware / hardware that's missing to attach the top to this marble. So, I mean, those screws they had on were doing a job. They were doing an okay job, but I'm not sure if I wanted to put them back in. They were a little bit big and kind of ugly looking. This guy's all shellacked, 2 coats on everything. We've got those sides all re-glued. Everything's a bit shiny, but that'll all get sanded and beeswaxed to a nice kind of low luster sheen. So yeah, doors are both put back together with 2 coats of shellac as well. I just did the second coat of shellac on this one this morning. Looking really nice. And yeah, so we've got the hinge here. I had it in patina. I think, you know, with this stuff, it is a brass hinge, so it should react to the patina eventually, but it usually has a coating on it, so it takes a lot longer. I could stick it in some vinegar to get that coating off for a little while, but I want to kind of get it to this finish. This is not too far off, but we'll get it there. Anyways, that's fitting nicely in the holes of the door and the side. But again, we'll need to shim it up just a little bit as the metal's a little bit thinner than the old hinges here. But I think we've got a great solution, and we've got all of these repaired. Just the only problem is that these holes on these hinges here were a little larger. So we might have to use a little bit bigger of a screw. The screws that this had, these guys, little flathead screws here. I was thinking about replacing them because they were all in quite bad shape, and maybe putting a little bit beefier of a screw in, just because this has really tore up that wood, even though we did fill. So I'm gonna see what I've got on my shelf of everything. I think I had a bunch of brass. I have brass screws here, but I had a bunch of matched brass screws that I had kept together somewhere on this shelf. So maybe we'll do that and get those looking good. Like these hinge screws here that I have are way too big. Those ones are aged brass. Maybe that would be a good size. But yeah, I don't really want to go too shiny. Just something that's a little bit bigger. And probably sticking with the slotted head just for antique sake. So yeah, those are looking good. It's got really pretty hardware that will give a little bit of a cleanup. These little handles here, that's so pretty. They had some screws in here instead of brass nails, so I've got some nice brass nails we can put back in there. Just give everything a once over, and although the cabinet's been kind of abused, we can still make this look really nice in the end. So I'm excited for how it's turning out. So right now I think what I'll do is start cleaning up this top here while the putty dries on this piece of trim we made, and maybe do a coat of beeswax on this piece so it's ready to go. Okay, so screw hunt is over. Looks like they never used that middle screw hole, and maybe that is a good idea with such a small mounting surface. It's not like these broke out of here, it was actually the pin that went on the hinge. So I'm just gonna try using a couple of these larger screws and see if we can get those to bite without filling these holes. Yeah, that's gonna be plenty big, so I might even drill those out a little bit, but I'd like to put a bigger screw in just because I think that's a better idea. And then on the door itself, we've got those filled, so I might need to drill those out as well. But I'll get these hinges mounted and still have to wait for that shellac to dry before we can beeswax. I sanded with 320, and then I used a gray Scotch pad just to make a nice scratch pattern with the beeswax, so it'll be a nice dull sheen when it's all dried up. Tomorrow I'll buff all the excess beeswax off, and that'll be the perfect sheen. So everything's looking really good. Okay, so I've got the door on, looks pretty good. Nice clearance all the way around. But I forgot about these little ball catches. These guys here are supposed to have a little spring with a ball, and that catches into this little metal bracket here with a hole and just pops in. So I'm gonna see if I have something that works. I do have a few of these on hand in my box of trinkets. So these are the newer style ones. Same thing. It's got like a bracket that the ball sits in, and then this is the ball catch here. So I'll just replace these. The brackets themselves look fine. So I'll see if I can get this to fit into that same hole. These are nice heavy duty brass ones too, so they'll be nice in there. It does nothing? Okay, so I've got this marble top here, and it looks pretty dirty, other than a few scratches and things. Not gonna worry about this edge that's broken off. Just gonna try to clean it up. So I'm gonna use Crud Cutter and water and give it a good scrub with Scotch Pad here. And then I'm gonna go in with Mohawk's 3-stage polishing compound, and then a wax after that. Just give it a little bit of a nice sheen. So it'll look a lot nicer then, just cleaned up and a little bit of a luxurious sheen on top. Took that right off there. That's awesome.
Probably just jam.
Marker or jam or something. Yeah. Well, there it is, all finished up and put together, looking very charming. So on the back of those tiles there, we took that back panel off. I showed you some numbers and an English or England stamp. Doesn't mean this is from England, but to me, the styling and the intricate details would suggest so. So I believe this is definitely not made in Saskatchewan, probably imported from England in its newest state, and then all over the world, I'm sure, with whoever had it, because it's such a really stunning piece with these turquoise tiles against that walnut really pops. I can't imagine somebody wanting to get rid of this. And that nice, beautiful marble that we actually got a sheen off of after doing some buffing. Got a lot of the staining out. Hard to catch it here, but there is a really nice, soft sheen, and it feels like butter, which is nice. There was a big red stain right there that came out really beautifully. So really nice. Now I didn't show me putting this top back on, but we did repair the mounting surface. So there's a nice flat head screw in here. Old style with slotted screw top, and then another one on the other side and one in the middle. Very nice big hefty screws. So those are really nice and secure as well. We re-glued this whole frame going back side to side and tighten the screws that hold these guys on. So this is a lot more firmly in place. So nice and safe. Marble just sits on top of this frame, but it's heavy enough to hold that. And yeah, that's looking good. So the doors were a lot of work. Of course, we had our little inlay pieces that we repaired. There's one of our repairs right here. And then two of the repairs that were on this door, one right there and right next to it right here. So got those down sufficiently. And this base we have shellacked, 2 coats of shellac on the whole thing, and then rubbed down with the beeswax. So I just rubbed that off this morning. And I don't think these are the original handles, but they're cute enough to be here. I ended up putting them on with slotted pan head brass screws here. And I did color the keyhole black just to kind of give it an illusion of a hole there. The old ones I think had more of a, you can kind of just see here, there's a little bit of a shadow of an old escutcheon that would have been there. And then the hole is a little bit right here for the keyhole, so that's all right. Little ball catch I think is original though. That one was, we replaced the other side, and we did make a new hinge for this top one. Here is the new hinge, and it fit really nicely in with everything. So beeswaxed the interior, did a little bit of repair on some wood here, and this door was re-glued. The frame was re-glued on that one. And then same thing here, hinges all repaired, and then this stick we glued back in here, and then added a new ball catch on this side, which fits really nicely. See, there's a hole here for suggesting there was a through handle of some sort. I think that probably would have been the original, but this looks okay. Doors are working great, looking great, and just really nice and put together. So this leg here, we did a big epoxy putty fill, and that's colored to match. 2 coats of shellac over all the legs as well. And then the sides had those veneer lifts. So we've got those put down, and wax filled any voids, just a little bit of color work on the seams. Same thing on this side. A little bit of wax and color work on the seams. And this back leg here, if you remember, just completely severed off at this point, and I finished the job. And so we put a dowel running right through this leg here, and that's nice and secure now. There is a bit of a crack from an old repair right here. I'm gonna leave that because it's not moving. So yeah, everything's looking really nice. I'm really happy with how this turned out. And even though the case has been fooled around with quite extensively, I think when you're looking at this piece, you really don't see that. Everything is kind of shining the way it should. And you can enjoy this piece again in your porch or in your kitchen or wherever you think. So thanks so much for joining me on this video, and I really appreciate you guys. just being here and watching this content. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, you can support this channel by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description below this video. And as always, thank you so much for being here and watching these videos. And I just hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay? Cheers.